4,800 small businesses have qualified for the COVID-19 loan guarantee scheme. Banks have approved more than 7 billion rand in loans since last month. About 100 billion was set aside to assist small business struggling during this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, Bongiwe Kunene is Managing Director for the Banking Association of South Africa. She joins us this morning. Bongiwe, good morning. Thanks for your time. I don't envy the mountains of work you probably had to go through to come down to whittle it down to 4,800 qualifying small businesses. Just tell us what it all entailed, that process.
Okay, thank you very much. The process started a few weeks ago. The scheme was launched on May 12th. And looking at the applications received, the first round, we got 22,263 applications. By the time we got the numbers out, the numbers that you have seen, we had had 3 reporting cycles. We started with that 22,000, 29,000, 32,000. So the numbers are constantly going up of people who are applying for these COVID-19 guaranteed schemes. And the value of the loans that we were seeing was also increasing. The average size of the loan was 1.4 million rand, and by now it is around 1.6 million.
So how did you get down to whittling that down to 4,800 successful applicants? What was the criteria? What do they need to qualify for it?
So the criteria is that which is determined by the Reserve Bank and the National Treasury, that these funds are supposed to be used for operational costs. So when we receive the applications, the first issue that we look at is the suitability of the application. So some of the applications are rejected outright because they do not meet the initial criteria.
Okay, so give us some examples then of, who would have qualified, because lots of concern out there for the informal sector, lots of concern for those who do roadside business, or those who have their little salons, that, the smaller guys and girls on the block, if I were to put it that way. Were they considered in this process?
Everyone is considered. One issue that maybe I have to emphasize is that for businesses whose turnover is less than 1 million rand, they are governed in terms of when they apply for loans from banks, they are governed by the National Credit Act. So the rules of the scheme plus the rules of the Act have to apply simultaneously for those very, very small loans. So those who did not qualify, probably it was an issue of affordability going forward that made it very difficult for them to get access to the funds.
So what were the conditions attached to these loans?
These loans cannot be used to pay bonuses. They have to be used to pay suppliers for an entity, also to keep the lights on, so to speak. So you can use them to pay rates, plus you can use them to pay your workers.
All right. And how will you monitor then, Bongiwe? Is there a monitoring process to monitor those that you've given these loans to see whether they will be able to come out on the other end and repay this? And it seems here that it will have to be repaid over 5 years at the prime interest rate.
Yes.
Are you going to continuously monitor them? Are you going to require some kind of feedback, report back every month, every quarter? How does it work?
Well, all the loans, once there have been issues, there is a monitoring process. In this case, first, because the qualifying stage requires a lot of information, the companies that end up getting these loans successfully are those which apply to their primary banks. Your primary bank has a lot of information about you, and the way that you have a record of past repayments will also demonstrate in the way that they give you these new funds how you are going to continue with the payment period for the 5 years.
All right.
So the monitoring is there because the banks at the end of each year have to submit the portfolio for these COVID-19 loans. It gets to be submitted to the Reserve Bank.
All right, Bongiwe, very quickly for us. Sorry to cut in there. I just need to know. It says this is the initial 100 billion rand COVID-19 loan guarantee scheme. Is there due to be another round of applications, and when?
As soon as we have exhausted the first 100 billion, we have a guarantee of another 100 billion.
Can you say when, though?
No, I cannot commit to a date right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that, Bongiwe Kunene there from the Banking Association of SA, just talking to us about that first round of debt relief and the loan guarantee scheme.